No, sorry. The cold fusion thing was a one-off. If you guys were too bothered to listen to it, I'm really have no interest in re-explaining that to you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get serious. Where do we stand on Ukraine? There is basically a standoff, and it's not really a standoff in that there isn't two militaries on either side of this. But Putin has given orders to invade. He actually gave those orders originally, ostensibly, 24 hours ago, a bit more than 24 hours ago. But he decided. He did well. They didn't move. So we were told that he had given the orders. We believe that he's got the intention to invade, and nothing happened. He then ostensibly agreed to a meeting. I believe it was in Paris, a summit that would happen in another, I think, 2 days from now. The idea being, I think, to give everyone a little cool-off time. He ostensibly agreed to that, and there was a false flag incident that we'll discuss in a minute, but and then shortly after agreeing to that, he declared, and what I'd like to do here is, because I want to make sure I get this right, he declared the two areas, two separatist regions, as independent. Both of these areas are in the Danbas. They are Donetsk and Donetsk and Luhansk. So, but we're gonna from now on just sort of refer to them as the Donbas. Those areas do not encompass the entire Donbas. It isn't. It's those aren't even areas. They're They're two groups named after areas in the Donbas, and these groups are separatists. They've been trying to secede from Russia. Sorry, from Ukraine. Wow. Okay. They've been trying to secede from Ukraine. They have not been successful. There has been a ceasefire for some time. That ceasefire has now been violated repeatedly as they are engaging Ukraine. But they are Ukrainians. They are rebels. They're trying to secede. They have been evacuating citizens to Russia, which is paying the citizens 10,000 rubles as each of them come across. In Texas, I think it happens more than once a year, but it only makes the news every couple of years. A compound secedes, and they say, we are no longer part of the United States. Obviously, you cannot do that. There are very good reasons why that is not recognized by other countries. Recognition is a very difficult thing. When is a country another country? When the Boston Tea Party happened, we said, we are another country. The we represented about 10% of the population in the colonies. The general consensus was, no, we don't really want to secede, but we don't want to rock the boat either. So we'll go along with whatever happens, and whoever wins. There were people who were for it. There were people who were against it. Eventually, the revolutionaries won, and we have the United States of America. This only really happened because the French recognized the secession, and most other countries did not. The French then interceded on our behalf, helped cut off British supplies, and without them, we would still be a part of England. So the French recognizing that the U.S. was actually its own country, just by saying, we're not England anymore. We're not part of that mess. We're not part of the United Kingdom. We are now our own country. We had the Declaration of Independence. France recognized it. We're here. However, there's no rules to when you recognize it, when you don't. Countries do it based on what is politically expedient. These two areas have essentially declared their independence of all of Ukraine. This entire area is most sympathetic to Russia, but it is still the majority is pro-Ukraine, not by a huge number, but the majority is pro-Ukraine, and it doesn't matter how many are pro or against. It's still Ukraine. What Russia has now done, immediately after, just 4 hours after presumably agreeing to the summit, Putin came out and said, I haven't agreed to anything. And then they recognized the independence of those two areas, which I will, going forth, call the Donbas. And the reason is they're both in the Donbas area. The Donbas area is the area that is contested and where all of this is going to start. So why did he do this? He did this because he's been trying to find an excuse to invade for a while. If they are their own country, then Ukraine can't say, stay out. Ukraine has no say in it. They're their own country. Now, just because he recognizes it, of course, doesn't mean that they really are their own country, but he figures this is giving him enough of excuse that he can go in and, Yep, we're going to talk about that. So they're now presumably two independent republics. Again, we're going to fall them under the Danbas, and they have said that once they are sorted and their governments are established, they're just going to get absorbed by Russia. They want to be part of Russia. They don't want to run their own countries. So this is an end run. It's an attempt to absorb the Danbas. They have actually Russia has been funding these rebels and trying to get them to successfully secede and kick the Ukrainians out. They have failed, but Russia's been essentially trying to start a revolution there for a while and get this to happen. Where do we stand now? Well, Russia can invade at any minute. The only thing stopping them is international law and a whole host of sanctions. But what they're saying is, oh, wait a minute. This is its own country. It's not an invasion. We've been invited in. So that is what they have said. They said that earlier today. Orders, we've been told orders were given, at this point, 8 hours ago to invade. It's the second time orders have been given to invade. As of yet, there's no evidence there's been an invasion. We have seen some footage of convoy in the area. I don't know what it was, and I don't know. What we've been told is that was invading forces, but we have no confirmation of that. And as of this moment, there is a bunch of dumb doorknob head. Really. Dumb. I actually really do like that one. Thank you. Actually, Doorknob Head gets credit for one other thing. Probably will get our new logo. That's Doorknob Head, and he doesn't even know it. At any rate, so where do we stand? He can invade at any time. We've been told by multiple intelligence agencies that he is going to invade, and he's already given the orders to invade. The invasion has not started, so we've been waiting for the invasion to start because he said 24 hours ago that he was going to invade and that he had orders. This idea that they're independent republics is just cover to invade. It doesn't change anything, so we're waiting. He hasn't done it yet that we can tell. Anyone's guess is as good as mine. However, about 12 minutes before we started our mute-a-thon and went live, a little more than that, we received notice that the White House has issued an executive order for a round of sanctions. Now, this is interesting. And one of the reasons we had to take a little time to come on is because I wanted to try to understand this executive order. It's all in legalese. But to the best of my ability, this is not sanctions against Russia. They are not sanctioning Russia. Now, this is interesting because I honestly think they should sanction Russia. But, that's a whole nother topic, so let's try not to derail. These aren't sanctions against Russia. This is sanctions against the Danbas. This is sanctions against the two, quote, new areas. What they're calling in the sanctions, they use the words, quote, so-called Donsk, I can't read that word, People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic, the DNR and LNR, the two breakaways, that the United States does not recognize them and is issuing sanctions. Nobody in the United States may do business with them, may facilitate any business, may not transport foreign goods or foreign people to the area or assist in doing such, may not do banking with these areas, and may not recognize these areas as their own sovereign lands, and in fact must recognize them as part of the Ukraine. Ergo, if you want to do any business in these areas, you have to do it through Ukraine. You cannot. So these areas have now been completely sanctioned. What does that mean? Not a whole heck of a lot. As we were trying to sort this out, it appeared as if he was sanctioning Russia. He isn't. He's sanctioning these regions. At this point, we do know there is a whole slate of sanctions ready for Russia. What happens when they hit? Very little. Russia has spent the last 10 years sanction-proofing their economy. How do you sanction-proof an economy? You get off of all imports. This is devastating to an economy. This isn't a good. Modern economies are imports and exports. You have to move your economy off of it. Russia's big enough they can do that. Produce all the things that they need, at least to the best of their ability. maybe import luxury goods, but be prepared for those to dry up instantly, and make sure that you can produce anything you must have internally. He's been trying to do that for 10 years and for the most part has succeeded. So the maximum sanctions we can do is going to have an impact, but it's reasonably small, and it's actually really mostly to the uber wealthy, which is of benefit because they're the decision makers, but nonetheless, there isn't a whole heck of a lot that's going to accomplish. In my view, he keeps doing stuff like this unless he gets sanctioned just for doing it. So I think he needs to be, I think they should sanction him now. At any rate, what we're going to play for you now, if audio works, and dear Lord, I don't know, because I bypassed the entire audio system just to get, just to try to get the, what is it? Just to try to get the, get it so you guys can hear my mic. I have no idea. This is going to be, this is going to be hours of me flogging the producer to get him to fix this. So we'll, hopefully we'll get that under control. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to also try to put this video that we're about to show, we're going to put that on bypass, and with any luck, and it should be on bypass. All right. So, dear Lord, will miracles never cease? Well, that's in the middle of nowhere. We'll do that. This is Putin on the Russia's stance going forward. Let me know if there is an audio. Well, okay, we're going to assume there's an audio issue, but certainly sounds like there's one to me. I can't even hear it, for crying out loud. All right, I know probably very few of you actually speak Russian, so it's absolutely no difference, but we'll play it from the beginning just to get it right. All right, if I'm understanding, and there's been a failure here that I genuinely do not understand. So it may be that you probably heard, if I'm starting to get my head around this, you may have heard the last 3 seconds. It's all in Russian. So at this point, we played it. All right, so still no audio. It's in Russian. It may be worth it just to hear his tone. I'll try it one more time. Let me play the first 3 seconds. When live chat catches up to real time, you guys can let me know. It's all in Russian, so I don't know that it's going to benefit anyone. You're going to have to read the text. All right, thank you. I'll check my DMs in a sec. I know I'm getting them. So if it's of benefit to anyone, we can still play it if you heard that audio. If you didn't hear the audio in the last 3 seconds that I just played, then it's going to be more time to get audio than not. I had to bypass the entire panel just to get it so you guys can hear me now. So I'm basically just piping my audio straight out. So so what's he doing? He is basically saying, first of all, he does not even recognize Ukraine as a country. What he's saying is that Ukraine is actually basically he's later claimed that Ukraine was basically a satellite, what's the word I'm looking for, colonization of the United States. He doesn't recognize it, so he's setting up a pretext to basically invade all of Ukraine and not just move past Danbas. But he also has said that, yeah, he wants the USSR back. That's what he wants. He's also said that at a minimum now, because those 2 areas are their own country, according to him, they need humanitarian aid. So he has said he's going to send humanitarian aid in the way, vis-a-vis an invasion force into the Danbas. He is claiming that he can do this because the Danbas is owned by these 2 breakaways, and they have. All right, thank you, No Name. So we'll leave it. It's not worth. I'm gonna be a long night. So what he is saying is that he will, because they have asked him to come in and offer a peacekeeping force to stop the aggressive Ukrainians from shelling them, he's going to send it in to protect them. If he does this, they will secede, they will become part of Russia, and that will be done. So the question is, what's he going to do from there? We will look at that in a second, but long story short, that's where we stand. Now, so far, he's tried several times to create a pretext to invade, and I have to admit, I am impressed with the human. What Ukrainians did in this was brilliant, and oh my God, it's rare you see creativity and human ingenuity like this, and they have so far, I think, been able to successfully delay an attack because they've been owning him on social media, believe it or not. But that may be done, and right now it looks like he's going to invade. He's been promised immediate sanctions if he does. He says he can't do it because this is a peacekeeping force to help the area, but no other country is recognizing the secession. It really feels like I've explained this poorly. We have a German, believe it or not. I don't have an English copy. I wasn't able to get a copy. This is actually, I think, from... this was lifted by, I think, German intelligence. It was a German assessment of the attack plan. It's actually very helpful because but I think I've got a more helpful one. So let's see if I can get one in English. Okay, I think I got this in English. Yeah. Okay. What are we looking at? So, what you see here is the most likely scenario as so everyone has looked at it so far. Crimea is really still, in the view of most countries, still actually a part of Ukraine. It's been annexed. You can find it down there at the bottom. Russia has it. It's a port, as you can see, that's extremely critical. The Donetsk and Luhansk areas on the right, but the red area that you see there is the Danbas. That's the entire Donbas area. It's those two. They are essentially they're sort of, for this, considered under control of Russia. They are not. Russia has not yet invaded. It has not crossed into that area. That area is Ukrainian, despite the fact that they've declared independence. What they're going to do, if they go through with this, and I think the chances are extremely good that they will. And in fact, they've already drafted a resolution. We have that resolution. It's actually, I think, almost a carbon copy. Bregwin put this out there. It's almost a carbon copy of their last resolution to attack, I think it was Chechnya. But that notwithstanding, what they're going to do is they're going to take the Donbas immediately. They can do this very easily because they've gotten all the civilians out. So everybody you see is going to be essentially a target. They're either for you or against you. You can tell by their uniform, and if they're shooting at you, you murder them. So any rebels are going to have to go out now. We do have reports already of war crimes. The biggest one, and that's worth getting into. There's already been some war crimes. The UN Security Council is... Sorry, when we get audio issues that bad, it throws my game when we start the show. So I apologize. Let me and I didn't have time to do a full rundown. So what the war crimes that we've heard at a minimum is that they are conscripting civilians to fight for the occupiers. So against their will, not to defend the country, but to actually overthrow the country. This is, and there's more of it on the Discord, but the UN they've asked the UN at this point to get involved, and the concern is that war crimes are going to dramatically increase against anybody who stayed in that area, and that they're essentially going to cleanse it of anybody who is pro-Ukraine. They can do this very quickly. You can see the area is very small. The right there is a little less than half their forces just along that border on the west there on the right. So they can take that small area very quickly. And since there's already rebels there who are already armed and have declared independence, and since all the civilians are out, they go through, they kill absolutely everybody who isn't shooting on their side, who isn't shooting in the other way. Anybody whose guns are facing west, you kill. They're going to go through and they're going to take that entire red area. There's already basically a quasi-government established there, two quasi-governments. Pretty quickly, they're going to say, we're Russian, and that's done. They can do that in about a day. Okay, what comes next? they're going to have to try to meet up with Crimea. If they can meet up with Crimea, which is still down on the south there, and they can build a bridge there, they can supply everything from Crimea. There's a river. You can see it on the left of the yellow area. If they can take that river, then they can supply everything to and from Crimea, to and from the rest of Russia, up and down that river. That river is key to everything. They will not stop until they take that. Once they take that, they will have taken basically everything of value in Ukraine. That river is the most valuable property. Everything else is in Danbas, which they're going to get. That's all the farms. That's all the natural resources. So they will attack from the north. They're going to come in. They're going to make, apparently, U.S. intelligence is saying they're going to go straight to Kiev as quickly as possible. That's a big distance, and there's going to be fighting, but they believe that it can be done very similar to our rush to Baghdad, and that this may be, at least the Russians are attempting to make this one of the fastest marches to a capital in human history. They're going to do that. They're going to expand all the way into the south, meet up with Danbas, which is a no-brainer. They get Danbas, they get for almost no cost, and then meet that up with Crimea, and then they have 1/3 of the country, and they are completely positioned to do absolutely anything they want. At that point, they'll probably take a break. They'll make sure that they've got the river. Once they've got that secured, what are they going to do next? Common sense suggests they stop. The reason is they've actually absorbed all of Ukraine, which is most valuable, at least from an economic sense. They'll probably have Kiev, assuming they don't want to stop outside of it. I assume they want to take Kiev, and I do have some DMs. I'll check those in a minute. Sorry. They'll have the river. They'll have everything that's of value. However, U.S. intelligence says that they're going to continue. They'll stop for a while, and then we're going to be at the standoff again. Are they going to continue? U.S. intelligence believes they're going to continue, and that they're going to take at least another third. I don't have that map. I don't think. Let me see if I've got it. I wish I did. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we got the German one for you. So those of you who speak German, this is your lucky day. So you can see the river there. It's a different map, but then they're going to go take another third. It's past Kiev. And to go back to this map, just so you can compare the two. So what you're going to see is all that's going to be left is basically 1/3 of Ukraine, and then there's no consensus on are they going to take the full Ukraine after that. My suspicion is yes at this point. It gives him very little. He gets nothing for it, and one of the downsides, and we've discussed this when we had Commander Lance McMillan on, is he's got to deal with an insurgency. Nobody wants to deal with an insurgency. He's got sanctions. He's got all the downsides, and he gets everything he wants after that first third. But he's not acting as rationally as people would hope, and despite the fact that he's utterly insane and a cold, ruthless killer, he's very rational, and but this is at this point. So it looks like he may go for the whole thing. At a minimum, he's going to take 1/3 of it all the way up to the river and probably Kiev. But he's going to start with Danbas. So he now has what he wants for Danbas. We're going to talk very, very quickly about how he's been justifying it with the false flags. So, Jesus, without the audio, I don't remember if this one has subtitles. I'm going to take one stab.
As Russian-backed forces allegedly opened fire, striking targets including a kindergarten. The children had been whisked away just moments before. The U.S. now believes there's little doubt a full-scale Russian attack is coming. Nearly half of Russia's amassed forces are within 50 kilometers of Ukraine's border.
My sense this will happen within the next several days.
Yet U.S. President Joe Biden said he had no plans to call Russia's Vladimir Putin. And in a worrying sign, Russia expelled the deputy U.S. ambassador from Moscow after delivering written demands that the U.S. claw back NATO or face so-called military technical measures.
We don't know what will happen, but what we do know is that Russia has amassed the biggest force we have seen in Europe for decades.
Russia's claim to have moved troops away from Ukraine is false, according to NATO. Instead, they say an extra 7,000 troops were added to the 150,000 already perched and ready to strike.
I am here today not to start a war, but to prevent one.
At the UN Security Council, the U.S. Secretary of State led the international rallying cry against war, outlining how Putin might carry out an invasion by first creating a false pretext.
We don't know exactly the form it will take. It could be a fabricated so-called terrorist bombing inside Russia, the invented discovery of a mass grave, a staged drone strike against civilians, or a fake, even a real attack using chemical weapons.
Russia has already claimed mass graves exist in disputed pro-Russian regions of Ukraine, and Putin is said to be preparing a rare address to the Russian parliament. The U.S. says it believes any Russian action would target specific groups and key sites within Ukraine, including the capital, Kyiv. All the while, Ukraine soldiers on. President Volodymyr Zelensky toured the front lines for a second straight day, walking a fine line, staring down the Russian threat while trying not to get dragged into a bloody conflict. Jackson Prime would shelling.
All right, so what I'm going to do real quick is, and they've now basically everybody who's in Ukraine has now we mentioned this earlier. They have been arming all their civilians. They're preparing for a guerrilla war, and they're training everybody who can hold a gun. This is mothers, fathers, people who are too old, people who are too young. They're preparing for, and I don't know. I mean, the Ukraine side is not conscripting people, so. But they're taking their own defense extremely seriously, so we'll see. I did want to cover this real quick. This is the bombing of the school. The school was hit by artillery fire. They got the kids out in time, and this is where, oh dear Lord, props to Ukraine. It looks like Ukraine had disinformation teams or counter disinformation teams, so that would be proper information. Well, I'll make a Venn diagram, but what they did was, they had teams out there to combat disinformation. When a shell struck a school, Russia said that it was a school in Russian-controlled area. At first, I think they even said it was in Russia. Then they said it was at least in Danbas, which is where we've got the separatists. And they said it was a separatist school hit by the Ukraine. It was not. It was a Ukrainian school hit by separatists from the Danbas, the exact opposite of what was claimed. And they literally just had a camera crew there. They said, here's the artillery, here's the street address, we're right here, it's not Russia. And this put a lot of egg on Putin's face, and he has now tried repeatedly to come up with a situation that would give him a justification to invade. Right now, the standing one is it's peacekeeping forces to protect the two new republics in the Donbas area. This is the school.
Shelling rang out across eastern Ukraine as Russian-backed forces allegedly opened fire, striking targets including a kindergarten. The children had been whisked away just moments before.
So that's what we got. Now that we got the audio, I will try one more time and I genuinely get no pleasure out of seeing this, but I think it helps to have the context. So one more time, I do not enjoy having him grace our air, but this is Vladimir Putin justifying why Ukraine, in fact, is not a republic and he can take what he wants.
В результате большевистской политики и возникла советская Украина, которую и в наши дни можно с полным основанием назвать Украина имени Владимира Ильича Ленина. Он ее автор и архитектор. Это целиком и полностью подтверждается архивными документами, включая жесткие ленинские директивы по Донбассу, которые буквально втиснули в состав Украины. А сейчас благодарные потомки посносили на Украине памятники Ленину. Это у них декоммунизация называется. Вы хотите декоммунизации? Ну что же, нас это вполне устраивает. Но не нужно, что называется, останавливаться на полпути. Мы готовы показать вам, что значит для Украины настоящая декоммунизация.
All right, if you guys didn't get audio on that one, God doesn't want Putin on our air. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, all right, let's get this back. Now I'm going to hit the live chat and see where we are, but just sort of to recap, sanctions have been put against the breakaway areas in the Donbas. This does not affect Russia, but as of this moment going forward, no American can do anything with the so-called independent people's republics that have now been formed in Donbas. The U.S. is formally saying we do not recognize them. If you want to do anything in that area, you got to talk to Ukraine because they're Ukrainians. So I don't know what that's going to do, but those are the sanctions that dropped. So there was some confusion. We thought it was sanctions against Russia when right as we were going to air, but they were not. So we're waiting. We're waiting to see what happens. This is unfortunately this is getting serious quickly. I've been asked repeatedly, what can they do? We've had this discussion on the Discord. Please consider joining the. Well, no, don't consider joining the Discord. If you want to get into the discussion of what's going on, join the Discord. We're chatting it. We're all of the up-to-date news. I'd like to thank, as almost always, Bregwin, who's responsible for like single-handedly between 60 and 70. No. 60 and 75, 80%. She just gets that stuff out there before it's even in mainstream news and drops it in there. So you want to see what's going on, come join us. But I honestly, the problem is, this was what my saying, and it's a dangerous move, but it's the only move that I think that you can do, which is we should have left Americans in there. We leave Americans there because, okay, if he shoots at Americans, he's going to have a real fucking problem. So, it's almost using human shields. Is it actually? It may actually really be. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But if we don't pull out Americans, heck, just put a military force in and say, if you get shot at, don't shoot back, but just stay there. See what he does, because if Putin shoots at him, we'll see. I don't know. I think you got to sanction him too, because he has to have consequences just for pulling this. Otherwise, he keeps doing it. So give him some sanctions now and more sanctions. The sanctions are going to have 10 to 15% of the total efficacy we'd like them to have. Why? He sanction-proofed his economy. You can't completely sanction-proof a modern economy, and they do want stuff from the outside, but the reality is they can produce everything they need on their own, and that's deliberate. So we cannot stop him, that I can tell. But if we permit him to continue, this is not as bad as appeasement, but the consequences are the same. So what comes next? Because it looks like he's going to go hit the whole Ukraine. I agree. He is bitter about the loss of the Soviet Union. He was a major player there. He was an assassin. He murdered people on behalf of the Soviet Union. He really believed it was the greatest country in the world, and he wants the U.S. to pay. So we'll see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top of the live chat. Let's see. Yeah, Ukraine does not deserve to their and well, I'll get to the other. Yeah, so it's this is muted as usual. It's really just the show should be renamed Muted all the Thank you, Wizard, for your support. We really appreciate it. There's a mod handy that happens to accidentally, just butt dial Blazing Wizard out of there. That's, mistakes were made, things happen. Well, listen, my wife has been trying to find the mute button. Consider yourselves lucky, okay? Because my wife is sitting there going like, he's talking, you can't hear him. He's talking, he wears himself out, he sleeps better, so let him talk. You don't have to hear him. It's like a plus for everybody. So I don't see why everybody's complaining. But I'm so bored of this muted shtick. Nobody is more bored of it than I. And we had a record like 12 shows in a row without a single sound issue. Yeah, it's a computer, Nick. You push buttons to make it do stuff. Well, that was I think the theory that I was doing when I blew up our internal audio and video systems. You'll notice on the last show we didn't have video either, so my camera didn't come on, the audio didn't come on. It's because all the drivers were redone, and then our software didn't recognize any of the drivers. They said, "Oh, you installed brand new devices." I was like, you're a product made by Microsoft, aren't you? All right, I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think Nick is muted, doorknob head. I'm going to say something. And since normally we try to keep the overtime shows a bit more serious, Best Name has been helping us out, which has been really great, and I appreciate that. You guys have seen her around probably a bit, and she's been on the Discord, and welcome aboard. Oh yeah, it's 4 a.m., all hands on deck. We're going to cover a war. But she's been doing great, but she'd asked me why I do this. And I think people who know me get it, and they understand why I'm doing this, and they're like, you're not going to get Nick to stop. One of the reasons I write, I've been a writer my entire life. I've written like 12 full-length novels. And people say, why do you write? And it's like, well, because I can't stop. and that's not a joke, and that's not clever. That's just sort of the way it is. And I had I find that is true of many writers. Not all. There's some very good writers who are like, I do it for the money. It's just like, you fucking, and you're that good? What the hell? But I do this because I really believe in education. I believe it's the silver bullet, and I believe that our news media is failing to do a good job. So we don't always hit the stories that you're going to find everywhere in the media. We try to go deeper and try to explain what the fuck is really happening. That's why we cover things that are controversial, and we say, okay, here's where the news media is outright lying to you. And my favorite shows are the ones where we've done that. And I do that because I think it's important, and I take a good deal of pride in doing a good job, and I am blessed that there are people who feel the same way and contribute their time and energy, often for basically nothing in return, except for Titan, who I deliberately give nothing in return to. I mean, if I could pay Titan, I would not be paying him. I'm going to get it for that comment. Shit, I just realized, yeah, he's going to laugh and say, oh, that's funny, but he will find a way to put my ass in a sling for that one. Shit. I got to keep that mouth in check. You know what? I should be muted again. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, for the safety of the show, In Time is now being muted. Doorknob head. You don't know this. You may or may not remember it. I actually have a screenshot of it. I was in Amy Newman's, and I was asked what I do, and I said we do news, culture, politics, and somebody said, news, you can get news anywhere. Why do you do the news? And Doorknob head said, the news is broken. Nick fixes it. I do my best. And I realized that encapsulated what I'm trying to do. So thank you for that. And that actually meant enough to me that I screenshotted it, because I was like, shit, people keep asking me what I'm trying to do. I was like, that's it. So best name was just like, what encapsulates best what you do? I was like, it was Doorknob Head on Amy Newman's. So thank you for that. Now you've been a pain in the ass, so I still have to like boot you because you're making fun of the muted. But at least know when I mute you that meant something to me. Anyways, going forward, okay, so the first half of the live chat is everyone making fun of the fact that I'm muted, and then people for some reason saying yay when they can hear me. That's unusual. That's not, you don't live in the household, obviously. Oh, dear Lord. Bowden orders sanctions. Yeah, I'll fix that. Thank you. We're going live in 30 seconds flat. I'm dyslexic as it is. You guys are lucky it's English, okay? We don't have any. One thing we're going to do is what we usually do. There are no live broadcasts from Ukraine. A lot of times this is streamed by the public. It won't be streamed until it gets into major cities. If and when it is, if it's streamed to Twitter or to Facebook, we'll snag it. These things aren't usually streamed to YouTube. If it is, we'll snag it. We'll put it in the overtime display. We have an overload display, and it's called overload because it's fucking crazy. There are 6 different panels. We'll have up 6 different streams of the 6 biggest hot spots, and there you go. So we'll be doing that, and it'll be fun. All right. Yeah, I've seen some. Okay, so Katsumi Kyoto. I've seen some videos that support. I think purported to show Russian peacekeepers moving into. I've seen those videos too. I can't tell if they're armed. I can't tell if they're military or just supplies, and I can't even tell if they're Russians. So we have not gone live with that. We have it. That's on the Discord. We filter. Basically, what we do is anything that's credible, we put on the Discord. We stagger it based on. Somebody on the Discord literally just asked, which Discord? The educational system in the U.S. needs a major overhaul. At any rate, so we have it. We haven't aired it because I can't confirm it, and we don't know what it is. What I do know is there is no reliable source that has shown any credibility that Russia has invaded. We've heard a couple of reports they have. Nothing we can go with. So we're on standby until they do. The only reason I came out with this today was because we heard that Russia got hit with sanctions, and that's what it looks like. That's not quite what happened, but it's close. So we went live, we reported, and we figured, hey, there's been news accruing for the last 24 hours. Let's bring everybody up to date. But really, the only news is 24 hours ago, Putin gave orders to invade. It hasn't happened yet. So he's shifted excuses. There have been some sanctions. Nothing's happened. So at least there's a shot. The doorknob had a bunch of baskets. I just really, hold on. No, I don't have, with all the, I don't think I have the system. You know what? I'm going to give this a shot. The system, like everything right now is, but that one, if I can pull it, and I probably can't, that one needs to get pulled. That's a, and hopefully, well, one of the other things that I think is going to be great is I think Best Name will be able to help us out. You know, when I'm producing the show, when I'm also trying to host and do all these other things, I can't, in general, you know, sit and really take time to put up the stuff in the live chat, and I do miss doing that. So I really am hoping too that Best Name is going to be able to help us out with that. She's going to be helping us out with a lot of stuff, but. What I'm going to do here is I do have this up and running, and in fact, Best Name, I did give you a link to this. So if you're there and you can hear me and you want to give that a shot, you should be able to see the back end for the display. And for all I know, the system's shot because it's in the middle of a changeover. It's going to happen in the middle of a changeover. I love it. All right, and Best Name, if you're there and you want to just take a look at the hopefully she's going to be, which is really, I probably should not be handing the keys to the social network stuff to her. I don't know that I should be handing it to, I mean, it was her or Titan. I was just like, you know, I think she's going to get it. I think she's going to get it. I'm not going to have a Ukraine. Oh, Kiev. So I learned it as Kiev. And I didn't read it in Russian. I prefer, because I can speak and read Russian, I greatly prefer to see it in Russian so that I know how it's pronounced, because I can pronounce the words much better when they're spelled in the native language. But I never saw it until actually just recently. I was like, that's not Kiev, it's Kiev, which is how Biden was saying. And I was like, oh, Biden got it wrong. He's an idiot. I was like, oh, shit, he's got it right. I'm the idiot. Well, that's an unfortunate twist. So, yeah. Anyways, okay, I'm not going to bother with the that was a cute comment from Doorknob Head about the dumb Bassians, but I'm moving on. Yeah, I think Blazing Wizard is right. In time, really, the audio on In Time works 100% of the time. Once in a while, that's correct. That's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why there's subtitles. Same jacket, 4 years later. Yeah, I'm not Oz. Fucking son of a. The quality of the people that we're letting on the live chat. Reading rap, are we going to die? The hope is not, but I actually did start to get concerned when they started testing intercontinental ballistic missiles. And that's just Russia's way of saying, don't fuck with us. But it's like, you know, guys, the first thought that crossed my mind was Ted Costanza going, you know, we're living in a society, but I'm like, you know, no, this is past joking, and this is, unless I'm missing something, this is really fucking serious. And I say unless I'm missing something because I'm not. It feels like I'm missing something. He hasn't invaded yet. Why? He really needs an excuse there. There's a huge part to that. He's been exposed now 2 or 3 times fabricating an excuse. Every time that happens, he loses credibility with his own people, and that's the one thing he can't lose. You know, he walks around without a shirt, swimming, riding horses for a reason. I'm the alpha male, I'm in charge, and everybody needs to see it. I need to be a sex symbol to everybody. And I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to be offensive. There's a PR strategy to this, and the Russians really dig that kind of thing anyway. It's a whole nother, it's the medved, the bear, the Russian bear. We're all, you know, big, strong. Okay. At any rate. So he can't afford to be humiliated and look like a clown. And so far now that's happened 2 or 3 times, depending on how you measure it, on trying to fabricate. I mean, he's been busted badly faking this shit. Oh yeah, the other one was all the rebels said we're being attacked, everybody needs to invade, and they show all these people evacuating. The only problem is the video was made 2 days before it was aired. They didn't clear the tags on it. So it's like, well, wait a minute. What? So how badly do you have to fuck up for Pravda to think it's easy to see through your lies. Pravda, of course, being the biggest newspaper in Russia and translating to the word truth, which I suppose is why Trump decided that that's what he's going to name his social media. You can't make this shit up. It's like when Bush announces we're going to do a lightning war in Iraq. It's like, okay, this is why you need shows like In Time. This is why you should learn a little history. You don't say we're going to do a jihad in Saudi Arabia. Bad. No, bad president. Bad president. No jihads. And you don't say lightning war in the Middle East. Don't say it anywhere, especially not in Europe. But Middle East isn't much better. All right. I haven't heard. Yes, he did. Ooh, Jesus, that's right. Putin did say that they're supporting Islamic terrorists. Yeah, I didn't. I failed to mention that. I apologize. Putin did also say that they're supporting Islamic terrorists, and because of the global war on terror, he needs to invade. You guys don't need a news show to correct these things. You don't need a news show to correct these things. When Putin says we're invading Ukraine to fight Islamic terrorism, it's like you should know. You don't need me to explain this to you. You should know there's a problem. Yeah. Babushka is a famous one. All right, so. All right, I think that just about covers it. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for putting up with probably the worst sound problems we've had in like 2 or 3 years, and that's saying something. So it really is my goal to get that all completely. Sunday, listen, so President Sunday is here, and we've had him on air once. He came on and joined for a hangout. It was delightful. It was delightful because he was very polite. Really engaging with people, but he knows his shit. And besides just the book learning, he's figured out how this stuff works. So he's definitely the kind of guy we want to have around. So he comes in, and I'm just gonna take note of it because I mean that, and I want to have him hang around a bit more. So I've gone into and watched some of his streams, and listen, I got a BA in philosophy, so it's like, okay, I got the basics and I know how it works, but he's sitting there talking about some of this shit, and I was just like, yeah, he gets it deep, he goes there, baby. So, but anyways, glad he's here, and thank you for stopping by, and he's the real deal. So hopefully we'll see more of him. Could there be internal pressures as to why he's not going in? Yes. My suspicion is nobody inside wants this to happen. I think they're getting sick of it. I think that's a guess. I do know the sanctions that were originally put in place after he took Crimea weren't designed to hurt him. They were designed to hurt the oligarchs around him, on the assumption one of them would take a shot at him and try to get him, get rid of him. And he was able to line their pockets enough that it was still worth their while to keep him around. He's not scared of him. He's not scared of anybody or anything, but he's pragmatic, and he's not above buying people off if it means that he can stay in power longer. So let's see. Did I really put that up? And I'm just leaving that up there. We'll take that down. All right, so, yep, no, I think that's a bit. Peter missed most of the show. You didn't miss much. The first half of the show was me muted. Usually that's like a joke. No, this one was bad. And I have no clue what went wrong. None. It has to be the operating system. The software that we use is called vMix. It's really powerful stuff. Complicated, but really powerful. And vMix says all the sound is getting out. Everything is going normal. So there's a disruption of some kind between the vMix and YouTube. And that's not going to be, we use we buffered it, but it's complicated. It's on our end somewhere, but it's not software, which is a first. All right. So I think, yeah, I don't. He's got a problem. He can't leave and not do this because it is going to completely emasculate him. And like I said before, that's a thing in Russia. That's a very big fucking thing in Russia. That's why he runs around with his shirt off. That's why there's a real effort to, he's a man and he does it all. He does the skiing, he does the shooting, the swimming, wrestles alligators. That's important shit over there. I imagine Biden wrestling an alligator. We don't. But at any rate, wow, that was an image. I'm sorry, that really did just go into my head, and I can't keep. Okay, professionalism. I'm going to get back on track. Biden wrestling an alligator. Listen, I saw a cat get into a fight with an alligator once, and the cat won. I'm telling you now, if it's Biden and an alligator or a cat and an alligator, I got $50 on the cat. So that's a big thing over there. He can't just pull back because it's going to look like the West won, and he's going to lose a lot of essentially soft power, which he fucking needs badly. He's run entirely on threats of intimidation and threats of violence more than the actual violence. The violence is important, don't get me wrong, but he's going to lose a lot of respect, and he can't do that. On the flip side, right now, there's nothing but downsides that I can see from him invading. So he's got a problem. That may be why he's waited, or I don't know. Listen, I don't know how long they were deployed. The final move was the artillery moving into position. The artillery, as I understand it, is the last thing you put into position. And when he said he was pulling out, as he said they were pulling out, the artillery started moving into position. They have to be protected by everything at the front. You don't want anything getting back and hitting your artillery, and your artillery basically goes over your own units and softens up people on the other side. So you put it up into place at the last possible minute, so it's not vulnerable. It's in place. He's good to go. I don't know what's going to happen. All right, and actually, I do. Let me just realize I kept saying I was going to check my DMs. I haven't. I know I got a couple of DMs, so I do apologize. Let me just check those. Most of them are going to be you're muted, you're muted, you're muted, you're muted, you're muted. Which I appreciate, by the way. I appreciate people letting me know, because otherwise I am giving out the secrets to cold fusion and nobody knows. Yep, that's a live. Oh, thank you. That's actually the live map we were showing, but that's different than the last time I looked at the live map. Wait a minute. All right. So the Russian Minister of Foreign Affairs is now saying that they have an agreement with the governments of Donetsk. I'm dyslexic as fuck, and most people can't tell because I memorized this shit. And when it's a word I haven't memorized, a 12-year-old's going to kick my ass on this. Donetsk and Luhansk. All right. Oh, dear Lord. Okay. All right. So what we have here, no fighting, no invasion. However, okay, that has to be, okay, so it looks like there is a column of Russia's National Guard that is across the border. No, that is not across the border. That's not across the border. Okay, that's, I think, the footage we saw. Yes, there is a column moving. It has not yet crossed the border. And to show you that map again, because this is important, he's put most of his troops, not most, the majority. So more than 50% of the troops are in the north. The reason is the north is the bigger problem. He can take those two areas, Donetsk and Luhansk. He can take those easily. It is a cakewalk because he's already got forces there. It's the rebels. So he's going to go through there. Then he's going to have to expand. And his first goal is going to be the southernmost column of red you see there. In fact, what I should really do is try to expand that. There may be no easy way to do that. Right now, I'm going to take one shot here to see if I can make that a little bigger for all of you. Because if I can, I think that would... oh, I can. What do you know? One of the reasons I really do like vMix. All right. And hey, I'm muted, which is another benefit to vMix. So there's the column on this. I want to make it kind of center right there. That column, the three red bands going from Donetsk down. He has to connect to Crimea as quickly as possible because that's a port. and they've got staging areas there already. The column that we've seen is actually in the north, just north of Kharkiv, right there. It's just north of there, and it looks like it's preparing. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to meet. They're going to merge the north into force coming out of the Danbas once they get the Danbas. So that's it, and they're good to go. They could start at any minute. They haven't yet. But what has happened, as I said before, we now have 2 areas declaring independence in the Donbass. They've actually essentially said that they were independent for a long time. Russia has now recognized it. So Russia is saying these are their own countries. Originally, these 2, quote, countries invited Russia in. Apparently, they are now saying they have a deal with Russia to establish a military base in that region. So, and this is the step I was talking about. What's going to happen is they're basically going to just cede themselves to Russia. But right now, they're saying we're our own country and we're inviting Russia to come in and build a military base here. So, Russian foreign minister is saying that they have agreements now with authorities. Quote, authorities is used very loosely here, in Donetsk and Luhansk to allow the deployment of a military base. But, quote, we are not planning on doing so yet. You know that that's not true because his lips were moving. So, yeah, they're going to say that they can make a base there. They're saying now the Donbas, quote, Donbas authorities are expelling all Ukrainian troops and civilians. Ukrainian troops aren't going anywhere. They don't recognize the authority of this. So, yeah, if they're expelling them, that means ostensibly an attack is probably hours away. That's the point of it. But at this point, we've been saying an attack is hours away for the last 24 hours. So that's where we are. I think I've covered all the bases. My suspicion is the next time we go live, at least on overtime, we do have a show tomorrow. We've got we have a philosopher coming on, a PhD in philosophy coming on with Homozygote, and we're going to be discussing philosophy of science. That's going to be tomorrow on In Time at 9 p.m. Eastern. Overtime is just on standby. We're waiting. We're going to do our regular overtime on Wednesday, and we'll just do a rundown of the week's news, assuming we're not live covering something worse. But other than that, overtime is just going to be on standby. And if and when we know of an invasion, we're gonna go and we're gonna cover it. And we'll see what we've got. Like I said, I think from what I'm seeing and what I've heard, it looks like they'll be able to take Donbas in a day. There's no reason they can't do it. It's a reasonably large region. I mean, it's not like a country, but it's a reasonably large region. But it's already half of it's already ceded anyway. So it's. I think they got it. All right, I'm going to finish checking my DMs. Thank you, Titan, for that. And thank you, Titan. You like me? We're buddies, right? You're not going to take any offense to anything I may have inadvertently said in an out-of-body experience earlier in the show, right? We're cool, right? I think. All right. Thank you. Yes, I'll fix the description, and I think we're good. All right, good. We're good. Everything's good. We are caught up. Well, that's a lot easier to do when you have a mic. Cool. I'm going to have to fix that before. I did send Putin a DM and say, listen, buddy, I know you're really fixated on this invasion stuff, and I'm against it, and it's a really bad idea, but if you're going to do it, could you put it off until we got the mic sound issues fixed? He didn't get back to me. But then again, my DM may have been muted, so who knows? And as I'm saying this, I'm aware that this actually probably isn't a joking situation. I'm tired, and all right. That probably was not yeah. All right. I think we're good. We're good. All right. Thank you all for joining us. And like I said, I've outlined what we've got for shows for the rest of the week. We normally like to try to do After Dark. We've been rescheduling it because the Fridays just wasn't working for anybody. But at this point, After Dark's a little hard to do when we're basically perpetually on standby because we have to, every time we do a show, the system here has to be reset. And we're basically staying on standby for, hold on. Oh, okay, good. We're staying on standby, obviously, for this. So other than our most important sort of regularly scheduled shows, we're not adding anything. I think we're all kind of up to our ears in enough stuff. So thank you all for joining us again. Join the Discord. You can find out what's going on. Simos, good to see you as always. This is this the start of World War III? The last time World War III was trending was the Iranian thing, and I was very much like, look, no, that's not going to happen. And the other thing I said, and this is important, every world war started out this way. That's why I get scared. But this kind of shit happens all the time. It doesn't lead to world war. It's kind of affirming the consequent almost, which is just that, well, hey, if all world wars started this way, then when this happens, it must be a world war. No. But, yeah, that's affirming the consequence. So, at any rate, this one's got me a little more nervous than I was with Iran, because Putin is not behaving rationally, and it's an issue. Oh, best name is on it. Yeah, I think I'm glad she's around. Thank you for that. Yeah, they're gonna, it's gonna be bad. I think we're gonna have some pretty serious human rights violations if they're taking civilians and forcing them to fight for the rebels. This is it's a serious war crime, and it's, you can't conscript civilians on the other side to fight for you. The UN is looking into it, so what they'll probably do is say, okay, you have to stop, or we'll tell you to stop again. And I don't mean to be glib, but the problem is Russia has veto power on the UN Security Council, and because the U.S. felt that it's not going to cede its authority to any independent body outside of the U.S., we insisted that every permanent member of the council get veto power, giving us veto power. What we didn't really consider at the time is, then that means our enemies have veto power too, and it means nothing can fucking happen. So I love the UN. I think it's better than nothing, and I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a good organization. But yeah. All right. Thank you all for joining us. I'll be in the Discord a little bit. I'm not going to I may do VC. If anyone's up for VC, I may do it, although it's getting late and I need to sleep because I may be busy tomorrow. So I'll drop into the VC on the VC chat in our Discord, just in, I think it's the general there. So I'll be there in about 5 minutes. If anyone wants to join me in chat for a little bit, I won't stay long, but I'll say hi to all you guys, and you can learn what's on our Discord and find your way around. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you later. This will be fun if that controller is out too. I'm betting the controller's out. That we have had basically a catastrophic failure of every system on in time. I can hear it, but I can't see it. What the hell happened to the show? Something really bad has happened to the interface. I wonder if vMix updated the software. Not to try to dissuade anybody from the fact that this is a professional show. I have never, listen, I've been doing vMix for a while. I've never seen it act like this. At least hopefully you guys can hear very nice music.